There are moments when the silence feels heavier than stone, when the soul whispers its guilt into the dark and no echo returns. In that stillness, a man walks through ruins that seem to mirror his heart. Shattered columns, hollow corridors, the ghost of something once alive. He doesn't yet know what he's searching for, only that the weight pressing on his spirit has no name but shame. But somewhere beyond the veil of despair, a sound stirs, a breath, a whisper that isn't his own. The voice doesn't condemn, it calls. And in that moment, time bends, the air thickens with the unseen, and the night begins to tremble with light. Something ancient, older than the stars, is about to awake. One chapter will change everything, not just for him, but for every wandering soul who's forgotten who they are. The manuscript speaks as if alive, words not read, but breathed. The voice fills the chamber, not loud, but vast. It tells of a law greater than the one that condemned, of a spirit that gives life where death once ruled. Elias trembles, not from fear, but from recognition, as though he has been found by something that has searched for him since before time began. The scribe watches silently, his eyes glistening with knowing. Around them, the candle burns without consuming, the shadows retreating inch by inch. This is no ordinary text. This is a mirror to the soul, a chapter written not merely in ink, but in fire and grace. Elias's voice breaks as he whispers the words aloud. No condemnation. The sound echoes like thunder through the chamber. The voice replies, not from the scroll, but from within him, soft, unrelenting, alive. He sees flashes of his past, the wrongs, the failures, and watches them dissolve like mist in morning light. The scribe bows his head, the weight of divine truth pressing upon the room. Freedom, invisible yet undeniable, wraps around Elias like a mantle. The air itself seems to rejoice. Outside, the wind has changed. What once howled with desolation now hums with life. Elias steps beyond the threshold, the light following him, painting the ruins in color for the first time in ages. The voice whispers again, not from without, but within. It speaks of belonging, of freedom, of an identity, untouched by failure. The desert no longer feels empty. Every grain of sand hums with purpose, every shadow softened by grace. The journey of redemption has begun. Night returns, but now it carries peace. Elias rests beside a dying fire, the scroll beside him. He gazes at the stars, countless, silent witnesses to grace. The voice speaks once more. You are not what you were. You are mine. The words sink deep, transforming not only his thoughts but his very being. In the quiet desert night, he feels the weight of chains gone, the dawn of something holy rising within. Romans 8 has begun to breathe its truth, and nothing will ever be the same again. The morning stretches wide across the desert, and with it, a new law whispers through creation, not written on stone, but carved upon the soul. Elias walks onward, his heart lighter though his steps are slow. The voice within him speaks of freedom not as escape but as rebirth. It speaks of a power that transcends weakness, a spirit that breathes through the cracks of brokenness. Yet still, echoes of his past rise, ghosts of guilt that do not yield easily. Every gust of wind seems to carry a question. What if I fall again? The voice answers in silence, only through the steady rhythm of his heart. You are no longer bound by what condemned you. The law of the spirit of life has set you free. As Elias travels, a faint cry reaches his ears, a sound too human to ignore. He turns toward the noise and finds a figure collapsed beside a dried well. Her face is shadowed, her body frail, yet her presence radiates a quiet strength. The voice murmurs, "Go to her." And he obeys. When their eyes meet, something ancient stirs. Two souls, both once condemned, now drawn by the same unseen grace. The air thickens with promise. The Spirit moves between them like wind over water, unseen but undeniable. When Mara awakens, her first words are of guilt. Not hunger or thirst, but unworthiness. Elias listens, and in her confession, he hears the echo of his own past. The voice speaks softly through him. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ. The words are not learned. They rise like a living stream. Mara's tears fall upon the sand, but where they touch, the ground blooms with small white flowers. The Spirit moves again, invisible but tangible, turning sorrow into soil where grace can grow. As evening descends, they find shelter in the remnants of a stone archway. Elias reads from the scroll aloud, his voice steady now. The words burn in the air, alive, luminous. The Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has set you free from the law of sin and death. Mara listens, her eyes glistening. She feels something uncoil within her. A chain she didn't know was there, snapping quietly in the night. The voice hums like a heartbeat between them, uniting two wandering souls into one shared revelation. That night, they rest by a dwindling fire, yet no darkness touches their hearts. The voice speaks again, not from the sky but within. If the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he will also give life to your mortal bodies. Elias closes his eyes, and the wind stirs the embers into golden arcs. Mara smiles faintly, sensing a warmth that isn't from the flame. Above them, stars bloom across the heavens like a promise kept. The law of death has lost its hold. The law of the Spirit has begun its reign. The dawn rises soft and golden, yet something deeper than light fills the air. A pulse, a breath that feels alive. Elias wakes to a peace he cannot explain. The voice is no longer beside him but within, whispering in rhythm with his thoughts. Mara too senses it, the stillness before words, the warmth that speaks without sound. The Spirit has come, not as a storm or fire, but as a quiet indwelling flame. Every moment breathes with awareness. They are no longer abandoned wanderers. They are temples of the living God. Even the desert seems to listen. The wind carries a song of belonging, and for the first time, Elias feels not merely forgiven, but inhabited by grace itself. They travel together now, not as strangers, but as companions of the Spirit. Each step feels guided, each breath purposeful. The voice speaks through the silence, not commanding, but communing. It teaches them the difference between effort and surrender. The old fear whispers still, but fades before the steady assurance of divine indwelling. Elias begins to realize that faith is not reaching upward, but awakening inward. The Spirit does not demand perfection, only presence. Every heartbeat becomes a prayer. Every glance at Mara, a reminder that grace creates family where once there was only isolation. By midday, the heat bears down and exhaustion returns. Doubt seeps quietly through Elias's renewed spirit. The voice does not rebuke, it reminds. The Spirit helps in our weakness. He hears it like a sigh within his chest. Mara, sensing his weariness, reaches for his hand. No words pass between them, only understanding. The Spirit intercedes, not through grand gestures, but through the unseen exchange of faith and compassion. Their silence becomes sacred. The desert no longer feels like exile. It feels like communion. At sunset, they reach a narrow valley where wind dances through the rocks like breath over strings. Elias kneels and prays aloud, not for freedom now, but for guidance. The Spirit within answers through peace, through stillness, through a deep knowing that words cannot form. Mara listens, tears on her cheeks, for she too feels it. the quiet conviction that they are not alone in their wandering. In this sacred silence, the voice speaks one truth that trembles through both souls. You are led not by fear, but by spirit. You belong. That night, as stars scatter across the heavens, Elias dreams of fire, not consuming, but purifying. In the vision, the spirit moves through his heart like wind through branches, burning away fear, awakening strength. When he wakes, Mara is already watching him, her face gentle in moonlight. Neither speak. They don't need to. The same fire burns in both. The voice echoes faintly. You have received the spirit of adoption by whom you cry, Abba, Father. A tremor of awe passes through them. They know now. The spirit within is not a visitor, but home. The morning comes with a hush, not silence, but a sacred pause between what was and what will be. The voice within Elias grows clearer, speaking now, not just of freedom, but of belonging. The spirit whispers of sonship, of inheritance not of this earth. Mara listens too, and in her heart she feels it, the echo of a father's call she never knew she could hear. They walk toward the rising sun, led not by direction but by presence. Every step hums with purpose, every breath with promise. For the first time, the fear of being alone dissolves complete. They are not servants of fear. They are children of the Almighty. By midday, they arrive at a hill crowned with olive trees, and there stands the old scribe. His eyes, silver as moonlight, seem to have awaited them since before their journey began. Without speaking, he gestures for them to sit. The scroll rests before him, open to a single passage. He points to the words, "The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God." A stillness falls, heavier than speech. Elias feels the truth sink into his bones. Mara closes her eyes, tears spilling freely. The voice joins the wind. You were never orphans. You were heirs. As the scribe speaks, his voice trembles with awe. He tells them that sonship is not a title, but a transformation. That to be a child of God is to carry his likeness within. He speaks of a spirit that cries out, Abba, not from duty, but from love. Elias feels something break open inside him. Not pain, but recognition. Mara's hands clutch her heart as laughter mixes with tears. The wind swirls gently, and for a moment, it feels as though heaven itself bends close to listen. The scribe smiles faintly, whispering, "You are his, always have been." Evening descends with fire in the sky, crimson clouds stretching like divine brushstrokes across the horizon. Elias and Mara sit beside the scribe as he recounts the story of all creation, groaning, waiting for the revelation of God's children. His words fall like embers on their hearts. The spirit within them stirs, not with emotion, but with authority. They begin to see the truth. Identity is not earned by obedience, but awakened by grace. They are heirs to glory. The night wind sings through the trees, and the scribe closes his eyes, whispering, "You bear his image now." When darkness falls, a quiet joy fills the hilltop. The stars emerge one by one, each shining brighter than the last, as if joining in celestial applause. The scribe blesses them, his frail voice strong with conviction. You are no longer slaves. You are children, heirs of the promise. The voice echoes his words, resounding through every fiber of their being. Elias looks to Mara, and they both understand. Their search is no longer for worth, but for the fullness of who they already are. The spirit within them is the very proof of love, eternal. The dawn comes heavy with silence, as though the world is holding its breath. Elias and Mara descend from the hill, their hearts radiant with peace. Yet something in the air feels alive, waiting. The voice within whispers of a creation that groans, longing to be freed from decay. As they walk through valleys of stone and dust, The wind sighs like a wounded creature, and the earth beneath their feet seems to stir. Elias feels it first, a resonance, a shared ache between flesh and soil. The Spirit reveals that redemption is not theirs alone. It is the song of all existence, yearning to be made new. The wind grows restless, carrying whispers through the barren land. Not words, but yearning. Elias pauses, his hand pressed to the ground. It trembles faintly beneath his palm, like a heartbeat. Mara kneels beside him, her breath catching as she feels it too. The voice speaks softly. All creation waits for the revealing of the children of God. They realize that their transformation is not isolated. It is the beginning of restoration for everything broken. The sky deepens with color, as if responding to a truth older than the world itself. As evening approaches, the air becomes heavy, with the scent of rain, though no clouds have gathered. The voice continues. Even now, the creation groans with labor pains, awaiting redemption. Elias and Mara lift their faces to the sky as the first drop falls. Not water, but light, falling like liquid fire upon the earth. Everywhere it touches, life awakens. Green pushes through dust, color through gray. Mara weeps openly, and Elias stands trembling, understanding that this is not magic, but restoration, the echo of divine love healing what once was lost. They journey deeper into the awakening wilderness. Birds return to branches long barren. Streams begin to murmur where silence reigns. Yet with each step, Elias feels the weight of the world's pain. It's longing for completion. It's waiting for glory. Mara senses it too. The voice comforts them. The suffering of this present time is not worth comparing to the glory to be revealed. The words do not erase the ache. They transform it. What was once sorrow becomes the birth cry of creation, calling its maker home. Night falls, and they rest beside a stream that wasn't there the day before. Its waters reflect stars like molten silver. Elias looks into the reflection and sees not the weary man who once wandered in shame, but a sun radiant with purpose. Mara kneels by the water, her face lit with quiet joy. The voice whispers, "Creation rejoices when the children remember who they are." The stream hums softly, the trees sigh, and the stars seem to lean closer. All of creation is waking, because the sons and daughters of God have begun to rise. The forest fades behind them as the horizon darkens once more. Clouds gather like memories long buried, and a chill crawls through the air. Elias senses it. The weight of unseen battle, the whisper of the accuser returning. The voice is quiet now, not absent, but waiting. Mara looks to the sky, her courage flickering like a candle in the wind. They walk in silence, the peace they once carried, tested by the shadows of fear. Yet somewhere within the stillness, the truth lingers. Love is not fragile. It was forged before the beginning, stronger than death, unmoved by the storms that rage within or without. The rain falls heavy. Elias feels the past clawing at him. Every failure, every fear whispered into his soul like poison. He falls to his knees, the weight unbearable. Mara runs to him, her voice breaking through the storm. "You are not what you were," she cries. "You are his." The voice returns, no longer distant but thunderous within. "Who shall separate you from the love of Christ?" Lightning splits the darkness, revealing their faces, drenched, trembling, yet radiant with defiance. Even in the storm's fury, love stands unbroken. The storm rages into night. They find shelter beneath a rocky ledge, soaked and shivering. The fire they build sputters but endures, like their faith. The voice speaks softly through the crackling flame. Neither death nor life, nor angels nor powers, nor things present nor things to come, shall separate you from my love. The words weave through the storm's rhythm, wrapping around their hearts like warmth after frost. Mara closes her eyes, whispering, "Then even the darkness is not dark to you." Elias smiles faintly, realizing that victory isn't in escape. It's in endurance, rooted in divine affection that never yields. When morning breaks, the storm has passed, leaving the world washed clean. The air smells of renewal. Elias steps out into the dawn, water dripping from the trees like falling diamonds. He looks to the horizon and understands. Love didn't shield them from the storm. It carried them through it. Mara joins him, her face soft with peace. The voice whispers again, not from above, but from within. You are more than conquerors through him who loves you. And in that single truth, the weight of fear dissolves completely. That night, as stars return to the cleansed heavens, they rest beneath their glow. But this time, they do not simply gaze upward. They feel heaven within. The voice speaks one final time in this act. My love began before your first breath, and will remain beyond your last. Elias closes his eyes, a single tear tracing his cheek, not of sorrow, but awe. Mara's hand rests over his heart, and together they whisper, nothing can separate us. The night answers with silence, not emptiness, but peace too vast for words. Love eternal, unbreakable, complete. The dawn arrives not in silence, but in song. The air hums with light. The earth trembles with anticipation. Elias wakes to the sound of distant thunder, not of storm, but of majesty. Mara stands already, her gaze lifted toward a mountain rising from the mist. The voice calls once more, come higher. They obey, hearts pounding with holy expectancy. Every step upward feels lighter, every breath filled with eternity. The past no longer haunts them. The future no longer frightens them. They belong to the present moment of glory, where heaven and earth begin to meet, and identity becomes inheritance. As they ascend, the air thins, but the spirit grows stronger. Each step pulses with a rhythm that feels not physical, but eternal. Around them, creation shifts. Trees bow in the wind. Stones shimmer underfoot. The voice speaks. Those he justified, he also glorified. Elias feels the words ripple through his being, like fire and water intertwined. Mara closes her eyes and senses herself no longer bound to Earth's gravity, but drawn toward divine presence. The higher they climb, the more transparent the world becomes, as if reality itself gives way to revelation. At the summit, all sound ceases. No wind, no echo, only the hum of eternity. Before them stands light itself, pure and unbroken. The voice, now everywhere, fills their souls with one final truth. The glory that shall be revealed in you has already begun. Elias and Mara kneel, unable to speak. The light does not blind. It reveals. They see themselves as they truly are, redeemed, beloved, eternal. Every wound becomes radiant, every scar a testament of grace. The divine presence wraps around them like warmth beyond fire, peace beyond silence. Then comes a voice unlike any they've heard before. Not the whisper of guidance, but the tone of fulfillment. You are my children. You have always been mine. The mountain trembles softly, yet they are unafraid. The spirit within them answers, crying out in harmony, Abba, Father. In that moment, the veil between heaven and earth dissolves. They see not two realms, but one, creation and creator entwined in love, unbroken. Elias turns to Mara, his eyes reflecting dawn. She smiles, understanding without words. Glory is not distant. It is here within them. As light floods the heavens, the world below awakens. Rivers blaze with color, mountains sing in the wind, and every living thing seems to lift its voice. The voice fades into stillness, leaving only peace. Elias and Mara descend the mountain hand in hand, their faces reflecting the radiance of what they've seen. They carry no relic, no proof, only presence. The spirit within them is their inheritance, their seal, their truth. And as they walk into the valley, the final whisper resounds across eternity. You are loved. You are free. You are mine.